Look, I know exactly what you were thinking. You see the title of this video and your thumb is already hovering over the scroll button because you are loyal to the 308. I get it. For years, I called the 6.5 Creedmoor the hipster round. I made the jokes about man buns and skinny jeans, just like the rest of the old guard. But here's the hard truth that I finally had to swallow. Physics does not care about my feelings, and it definitely does not care about yours. I spent 6 months running these two calibers side by side on the range, and the results made me look like a fool. So put your ego in the gun safe for just 10 minutes. We are about to look at the cold, hard math that proves why this cartridge is not just a passing trend, it is the new standard. Moving on to reason number 7, we have to talk about what I call the ballistic cheat code. Back in the day, we had to be artists to read the wind. You had to feel the breeze on your neck and watch the mirage boil just right to make a first-round hit at 800 yards with a standard rifle. But the 6.5 Creedmoor basically ignores all of that hard work. It is all about the ballistic coefficient. These bullets are long and sleek with a seek and co-jive and a boat tail design that boosts the G7 ballistic coefficient way past what a standard 30 caliber projectile can dream of. It slips through the thick atmosphere with barely any drag, maintaining its energy like a freight train that refuses to slow down. While my trusty 308 is getting pushed 10 inches off target by a mild crosswind, the 6.5 just slices through it like a hot scalpel through tension. But here is the deal breaker that nobody admits. This cartridge will make you lazy. Because it is so forgiving in the wind, new shooters start thinking they are sniper legends without actually learning how to read the environment. You stop watching the trace, you stop checking the flags, and you just rely on the aerodynamic efficiency to save you from your own mistakes. It feels like driving a car with full autopilot versus shifting gears in a manual transmission. Sure, it is efficient, but you lose the raw connection to the craft.
Next up, we need to address the recoil management. If you run a heavy 30 caliber gas gun all day, you know the feeling. It is like letting a disgruntled linebacker punch you in the shoulder over and over again. After 50 rounds, you start developing a flinch, whether you admit it or not. But the 6.5 Creedmoor changes the equation entirely. Because it pushes a lighter 140 grain projectile compared to the heavy 175 grain pills in the 30 cal, the free recoil energy is cut drastically. It feels more like a firm high five than a physical assault. This matters because of the follow-through mechanics. With the 3008, the muzzle rise pulls your scope off the target just enough that you lose visual contact for a split second. You are blind to the impact. With the Creedmoor, the crosshairs barely wiggle. You can actually watch your own vapor trail arching through the air and smashing into the target without losing your sight picture. But here's the annoyance that drives me crazy. Because it has less mass hitting the target, the audible feedback on steel targets is pathetic. When I slam a steel plate with a 30 caliber slug, it rings like a church bell and swings with authority. The 6.5 just makes a polite little ping noise. It hits the target just fine, but it lacks that visceral satisfaction of sending a heavy sledgehammer downrange.
Stepping up the game to reason number 5, we have to look at the dreaded transonic barrier. Every shooter knows that velocity is a decaying asset. Once a bullet leaves the muzzle, it is fighting a losing battle against air resistance. When a standard 30 caliber projectile hits that 1,000 yard line, it usually drops below the speed of sound.
That transition period creates a shock wave that destabilizes the bullet, causing it to wobble and lose precision, effectively tumbling out of the sky like a drunken gymnast. The 6.5 Creedmoor solves this problem by simply refusing to slow down. Because of that superior drag model we talked about, it retains supersonic velocity well past 1,200 yards. It stays stable and predictable at distances where the 3008 has already surrendered to physics. This means your effective engagement window is extended by 200 to 300 yards without changing your platform. But here is the ugly truth that the salesman at the gun counter forgot to mention. You are paying for that performance with the life of your barrel. This cartridge is what we call a throat burner. While a good cold hammer forged 30 caliber barrel might last you 8,000 rounds or more, the 6.5 Creedmoor will start losing accuracy after just 2,000 or 3,000 shots. The high pressure and the shape of the shoulder act like a plasma torch cutting into the rifling right at the chamber throat. If you're a high-volume shooter, you better be prepared to rebarrel your rifle 3 times as often. It's a race car engine. It performs beautifully, but it burns itself out while the old pickup truck just keeps chugging along forever. Now, we are getting serious regarding reason number 4. And this one upset a lot of the old-school reloading bench hermits. For decades, the rule was simple. If you wanted sub-minute of angle accuracy, you had to spend your weekends in the garage measuring powder grains like a mad scientist. Factory ammo was for casuals, and hand loads were for winners. The 6.5 Creedmoor destroyed that hierarchy overnight. This cartridge was designed from the ground up by Hornady specifically for match shooting, not for military machine guns like the 7.62 NATO was. They put the recipe right on the box. You can walk into a big box store, grab a box of 140 grain ELD match, and it will shoot circles around a guy hand-loading 3008 in his basement. It features concentricity levels and low-drag polymer tips that used to be impossible for mass production machines to achieve. The standard deviation in velocity is so tight, it's almost boring. It runs as consistent as a Swiss watch, round after round after round. But here's the deal breaker that hits you right in the bank account. You will never find cheap military surplus spam cans for this caliber. With 308, I can buy a bucket of ugly, grimy ammo for pennies just to blast at trash piles. With the Creedmoor, every single trigger pull costs you a significant amount of cash. There is no such thing as a cheap day at the range with this rifle. It forces you to treat every shot like it is made of gold, which is great for training, but terrible for your wallet. We're entering the elite tier with reason number 3, the hidden power of sectional density. For a long time, the old-timers at the hunting camp laughed at this cartridge. They claimed it was too small to take down big game ethically because it didn't have the diameter of the 30 caliber trusted options. But they were ignoring the physics of penetration. Sectional density is the ratio of a bullet's mass to its cross-sectional area, and the 6.5 Creedmoor dominates here. Because the projectile is long and slender, it focuses all that kinetic energy into a tiny point. It utilizes a high sectional density coefficient of nearly 0.287, which allows it to drive through bone and muscle with terrifying efficiency. While a standard 30 caliber soft point might flatten out and stop early, the 6.5 Creed keeps drilling forward like a diamond-tipped industrial drill bit. It guarantees an exit wound on deer and elk, even at extended ranges where other rounds run out of steam. It punches way above its weight class. But here is the deal breaker that you need to be aware of if you're a hunter. Because it penetrates so well, it sometimes fails to dump all its energy inside the target.
I've seen shots that passed clean through an animal like a laser beam without creating massive hydrostatic shock. It can result in what we call penciling through. The animal will still die, but it might run 100 yards before it realizes it's been hit because the wound channel is so narrow. Unlike a big, slow .30 caliber that hits like a freight train and drops them in their tracks, this requires precise shot placement to be effective. And listen, this ballistics advantage is impressive, but wait until you see the undeniable math sitting at number 1. It basically proves the .30-08 is obsolete.
We are getting dangerously close to the number 1 spot with reason number 2, the logistical miracle of short-action compatibility. For a long time, if you wanted ballistics that could touch a target at a mile, you had to buy a massive long-action Magnum rifle. It was like trying to park a school bus in a compact garage. The 6.5 Creedmoor changed the geometry game entirely. Because it was designed to fit perfectly inside a standard short-action receiver with a 0.473-inch bolt face, it is the ultimate shapeshifter. If you already own an AR-10 or a Remington 700 and .308, you are practically halfway there. You do not need to buy new magazines, you do not need to buy a new bolt carrier group, and you do not need to buy a new chassis. You just swap the barrel and you are suddenly shooting a laser beam. It breathes new life into old rifles like a heart transplant for a dying athlete. It allows you to take that dusty hunting rifle in the back of your safe and convert it into a precision instrument for the cost of a barrel nut and some elbow grease. But here's the deal breaker that the internet forums usually glaze over. If you are running a semi-automatic platform, this cartridge is a total diva. Because it operates at a higher pressure curve than the .30-08, it tends to overgas the system violently. I've seen factory AR-10s chew up brass and spit it out looking like crushed soda cans because the timing was off. It often requires a high-pressure bolt with a smaller firing pin aperture and an adjustable gas block just to run reliably. You think it's a simple swap, but suddenly you're tinkering with gas settings and buffer weights just to keep the gun from tearing itself apart. And finally, we have arrived at the undeniable truth sitting at number 1. The reason the 6.5 Creedmoor has taken over the world is simply that the math wins. For years, we tried to ignore the data because we loved the nostalgia of the .30 caliber. But if you put the dope cards side by side, it is embarrassing. At 1,000 yards, a standard 175 grain .30-08 bullet drops roughly 380 inches. The 6.5 Creedmoor, firing a 140 grain projectile, drops only around 280 inches. That is nearly 100 inches of difference. That is not a small margin. That is the difference between a hit and a miss that lands in a different zip code. It delivers 25% less wind drift and 30% less recoil while retaining more kinetic energy at distance than its big brother. It is simply a more efficient machine. It achieves this through superior aerodynamics that maintain a G7 ballistic coefficient of over 0.3, allowing it to cheat the wind in ways the older bullet designs simply cannot. Why would you choose to fight the physics? Why would you choose to calculate more drop and fight more recoil just to achieve the same result? It's like choosing to use a rotary phone when you have a smartphone in your pocket. It works, but you're making your life harder on purpose. But here's the final deal breaker, and it is a sad one. Shooting this caliber is boring. It is so efficient, so flat, and so easy to shoot that it takes away some of the challenge that makes long-range shooting addictive. There is a certain pride in mastering the heavy recoil and the rainbow trajectory of a .30-08, and the Creedmoor robs you of that struggle.
It turns a difficult art form into a point-and-click adventure game.
Look, I will always have a 3008 in my safe. It is the hammer that built this house, and if the world ends tomorrow, I want the gun that can eat any ammo I find on the ground. But we are not fighting the apocalypse today. We are trying to hit targets, and for that, the 6.5 Creedmoor is simply the better mousetrap. It allows you to shoot further, faster, and more accurately with less fatigue. So stop fighting the future, swallow your pride, and make the switch. Train hard, stay safe, and I will see you downrange.